Welcome into Sports Edit Nation. Today is a Wednesday episode. We're going to talk all things NBA trade deadline. We'll talk about which unicorns went where and why Giannis and Ja didn't go anywhere. Sports, comedy, pop culture, and everything in between. By idiots, for idiots.
Sports, comedy, pop culture, and everything in between. Welcome back, sinners. This is Season 2 of Sports Idiot Nation.
Football done with. So I got my Adam and Memphis J to talk all things. We're going to talk NBA trade deadline. We kind of didn't even go over it when it happened. A few moves to discuss, a few moves that didn't actually work out, which that's where I want to start with Memphis J. Giannis. I really thought, not just being a homer, I mean, tons of people were saying Giannis to the Warriors, not just Warrior fans.
Yeah, not just
Did
the weird foreign countries that just make up random things that you really got to triple check before you ever repost. Yeah,
did
I'm familiar with
did you
that.
think that?
There
Did
was
you
more
kind of
than
think that?
just the crazies talking about it. And definitely more than just the Warriors fans. I see every fan base start talking anytime a big superstar seems like they're on the trade block. But yeah, I could have seen him making a move like that. I feel like if he ever does leave the Bucks, it will be to just a big market team. You know, it'll be to like Golden State or New York or somewhere. You know, just really somebody ready to hit the next level and needing one more piece to complete it. Or I think it's crazy that he didn't. I don't know the inside workings. Maybe they just didn't have the deals to make it happen. Just like as a Memphis fan, looking at what's going on with the John Morant thing, why he didn't get moved when it seemed like all signs were pointing to that. But yeah, it's been kind of crazy. Sometimes inactivity can be the biggest or the worst trade of the deadline.
So the one thing that I'll say about Giannis is, or two things, the teams that I thought were, well, there was three now that I think about it: Minnesota, Knicks, and Warriors. And if we break that down, let's start with the Warriors. They would get Kaminga, maybe Buddy, and we know Buddy left, so that was a trade that worked out. We'll get into that. But
Right.
I'm thinking like Kaminga, Buddy Healed, and some draft picks, which really would end up hurting the Warriors as they're stuck with young players like Pachemsky. Like, okay,
Yeah.
he's okay, but he is not a guy like at all. Like there would be 10 teams in the NBA that he would not be in the rotation, you know? And so it's like that's not the guy you want to build around. And Giannis is getting old, Steph Curry is old, and Draymond is old. Maybe Draymond would be in that trade, and I don't think so, but Dunleavy has come out and said that he was not really shopping Draymond Green.
Okay.
But okay, if that comes to the Warriors that way, I don't actually like it. Yeah, it's cool. The very first time that Steph would throw an alley oop to Giannis, yeah, that would go viral and it would be cool. But they're not. I mean, Jimmy's still hurt and out, and I just don't think that affects the Warriors in a positive way. You know what I mean?
Right.
I just don't see it. And then okay, the Knicks, Carl Anthony Towns. Do you like that trade? If they would have done that, maybe swap a pick as well
Uh, you saying Carl Anthony Towns for
for
Giannis?
Giannis. Yeah, that was another the Knicks. That was
Okay, see,
another
I didn't even
a
know
lot of
that
people
was
talking.
a
Yeah.
possibility that I saw. Sometimes I've just been focused on Grizzlies and other stuff closely, or at least watching how all of it shook out. I didn't even really hear that one, but I could see that it makes sense on probably just a numbers level, contract wise. I don't know. I'm weird. I really did not like Cat in Minnesota. I do like Carl Anthony Towns in New York. Like when I watch him there, he's it's been a different guy in a different market. I like him there. He actually, he's not my favorite basketball player, but I think
Sure.
he's been beneficial to that team. So I don't know. I mean, Giannis would be a game changer on any team. So it would be a move. It would be a good move for New York. I think it would be kind of crazy of the Bucks to trade him. I don't put them on the same level. They are both NBA All-Star caliber players, but they don't both have that dog in them. I'll keep it simple. You know what I mean? Like Carl Anthony Towns sometimes slows down or doesn't like fight for it. Like
You forget
um,
he's in the game.
yeah, yeah. Like Giannis. There's a handful, maybe 10 players in the NBA that are just when they get told to turn it on and step it up to that next level, like their team's about to get 7 to 10 points in the next minute, and there ain't really shit you can do except like enjoy it or try to stand in the way and take a charge. Like, an
Yeah.
Anthony Edwards, Giannis is one. Like if they just say like, okay, sometimes you see that they're just kind of toying with you the whole game, and then they just turn it up to a next level, and you realize, okay, there's levels to who can do what in this league. So I don't know that Cat's ever really shown me he could take over in that level. I think it'd be crazy. So I don't know. I could see just kind of like Ja Morant in Memphis. Giannis is one of those generational talents. He's one of those just really special players you don't get every day. So if the right deal comes along, not exactly the same as everybody's kind of down on Ja's trade value, that he wouldn't be as high as Giannis's trade value. I'm not as crazy to think that, even though I value him high like that. I know with his injuries and usage rate and other BS surrounding, it's a tough call. But it's one of those, if you don't get the right deal, you just sit on it, and it's still an asset, still something good for the team, an amazing
Yeah.
player. I'd rather you don't want to just give them away just because you're mad. But I don't know. I've been kind of surprised by the couple of teams things they didn't do. I was thinking about. I don't think the Orlando Magic made a whole lot of moves in this up into the trade deadline, and so we'll see how that pans out for them, because they kind of started off hot and they kind of hit a kind of bump that I don't know if they're getting over it without some type of change
A
up or
boost.
somebody really
Yeah.
stepping up and doing it. And sometimes the trade deadline can be that boost. So, um,
So, yeah, we were talking before recording. Um, Jalen Suggs, good player, just had his first triple double. Hey, that's pretty cool. If he can
right,
really step up in this second half of the season, maybe that's the move. But yeah, I, Orlando is kind of that team that you forget is good. You're like, oh yeah, over the last 2 years, they have not been a joke like they were. So it's like, okay, well, what are they doing? Well, not much.
right,
So here's the teams that did something. Here's where I want to start. The man, the Pacers are a weird deal because I feel like we know who the MVP of the league should have been. If you have a guy on your team, then he gets injured in the playoffs in the finals, and
right,
now your team like wins like 9% of their games, then
right.
wouldn't you say that guy was the MVP? So
Oh yeah, yeah,
I mean that's just tough. But they get Zubats from the Clippers
right,
and Kobe Brown, and man, I liked Benedict Mathurin as a good like he's like when the Warriors were really good and Iguodala would lead the bench players, and you start to fall in love with some of those bench players who would give you, 15 points, and every once in a while they'd explode for 24 off the bench or whatever. Like I feel like that is in Indiana at least like a fan favorite was Benedict Mathurin. And so I don't know how they feel about that. The Pacers have a couple bigs that one of them just went off last week for like 23 and 12 or something. Like,
Okay.
what does Zubac do? Like, I don't know what, you know, he's going to earn 42 million over the next 2 years. I know he can score. He's a good rebounder for sure. He's a lunch pail guy. He just puts his head down and goes to work. I mean,
Right.
he's a
I
decent
like
player,
Zubac.
but
I like Zubac. I don't know
yeah,
how they're going to use him or if they've got a different plan. Um, I don't guess the Pacers gave up anything except picks for him. So maybe it was just to shore up a hole there they see. Um, I don't know. That one was one that I think is kind of one that unless that's your home team, a lot of people aren't paying any attention to it. No
right.
disrespect, because it's that if you got to be an NBA fan to know some of these people that are getting traded anyway. Like we talked about even before the show. There's been some blockbuster trades this deadline, but only a couple of like super huge names to your average NBA fan, unless you're the home team and the stars on your team. A lot of guys are just getting moved around. And that's where it gets more into, is it the right move, or are teams, filling holes, or just kind of moving things around to save money sometimes. We're to that point now where I think a lot of what the Clippers were doing with getting rid of Zubac is just getting rid of money they're having to spend. I think also getting Harden off the payroll, right? That'll lower. They got to be saving a little bit of money in the deal. I have only kind of paid attention to the trades and don't really pay attention to people's salaries that close. I don't know how people bounce out on a
Yeah, on the balance sheet there.
trade proposal.
Yeah,
I'm not at that level, but I think the Clippers, in a weird way, even though they shipped off two really good players, I think they're kind of maybe winning because they're bringing themselves a little bit lighter, since they're not really doing a whole lot this season. They're at least lightening the load of a couple of big salaries, and that could sometimes getting rid of people can be a good move when it comes to trades.
right, right. Um, there's a couple, um, a couple nothing burgers. The one thing about one nothing burger that I want to bring up is the Knicks got that guy from the Pelicans who always sneaks around and inbound, Jose Alvarado.
Alvarado, my
Uh,
favorite.
dude, so he's with the Knicks now.
Yeah.
So that's a kind of a
And
nothing burger, except for just knowing that little fact. You know what I mean?
one other little fact I'll note while we're speaking about the Knicks, they were my sleeper team that was not my home team for this season, and they got the NBA Cup. So I was kind of proud of that. They snuck that one in there. No, I think
Yeah.
just like the Knicks sneaking around and grabbing Jose, this is going to be a good move for them.
Energy.
Yeah, he's definitely got that energy, and I think he will play really well in Madison Square Garden.
Oh,
Like
I was just gonna say. I was just gonna say that.
light that crowd up. But
Yes, dude.
it'll be sad that we don't get to see him come back and play against Trae Young in Madison Square Gardens, at least in a Hawks jersey. Maybe he'll have to do it in another team, jersey. What is it, the Wizards?
Yeah.
Maybe it would be in the Wizards, and so that wouldn't be exactly the same energy as playing him when he was with the Hawks. But no, I think that's a good move for New York for sure. I like Alvarado. He's a good all around glue guy. That's one of the people the Grizzlies lost. It's like that. That's just an all around glue guy. You don't know. I mean, Alvarado's got a bigger name than some people, but you don't know him unless you watch that team all the time, because they're the ones that are like, doing the hard work, running around, getting the steals, deflections, hustle plays that really matter on winning games. So he's an impactful player for sure.
So you talked about Trae Young is with the Wizards. The
Right.
Wizards got Anthony Davis, D'Angelo Russell, Jaden Hardy, and Dante Exum. the
Right.
Mavericks got Chris Middleton, which
Nice.
there's been a Chris Middleton sighting, apparently. AJ Johnson, Malachi Branham, and Marvin Bagley III, who I like.
Right.
Chris Middleton, I did be honest, did you forget that he was even like
Yeah. 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 At this point, I don't think I've heard the name in a while till it popped up there.
right?
That's true. This
AD, they said he's
particular.
going to play this year. He
Okay.
is going to suit up for the Wizards at some point. We don't know.
I think
Um,
AD's just fleecing teams at this point, and
yeah.
he can't get away from D'Angelo Russell. They keep bouncing back onto the same basketball court. It's like two balls that won't leave the same area. Um, no, that's interesting. I don't know. I don't mean to be an AD hater. I hope for the best when he's
No,
playing.
you're just keeping it real. I
Huge
mean,
impact on the floor. He's a huge player. I've seen him tear apart hopes of my Grizzlies a couple of times. But then also, you know, I think the Mavericks really are strangely a winner in this whole thing because of even though we thought they were crazy to get rid of Luka for AD, the way it's all flipped into the amount of kind of picks that they've got and a nice young core. You got Cooper Flag to kind of help right the ship. He's not Luka, but give him a little bit. He might get closer to that level um, of production. He's also got some plus sides that I think are even better than Luka in ways. Unlike just uh, I don't know. It's hard to say. You're still looking at a small body of work for Cooper
yeah.
Flag, but the Mavericks did some good trades here down the long stretch. Sometimes I'll argue with it when they're like, look at what this team really received for this player. When you're like, yeah, that was 2 years ago, and they're flipping some of these people that did it. You're making it seem too simplistic because I don't think they saw that ahead of time by any means. Things are a very
And
timely thing.
also, you can't judge trades right away in the same way you can't judge a draft, say, like in the NFL. Like,
Right.
you can't until 3-4 years sometimes with the NFL draft. You don't know how this offensive tackle is going to pan out. Maybe it didn't work out in year one, but by year four, he's a really good player. And with this trades, which here's a question we talking about the Clippers. Who would you say won this trade? Cavaliers getting James Harden or the Clippers getting Darius Garland and a second round pick in 2026?
Again, I think the Clippers really. I see what maybe they're trying to do, bringing James to Harden to Cleveland, but no, I think again the Clippers. Darius Garland is a solid player. He's another guy that just kind of brings his lunch pail and goes to work, and plays really good basketball. So I think that could benefit the Clippers in a way better. It may it may turn out that James Harden and the Cavs work well together, but I mean James Harden is a great player, but I've seen him go and do the same things so to a certain extent on every team that he goes to. He's a little, you know, needs his own time to develop and do what he does a lot of the times. I think he's actually kind of, even though he still does really stupid stuff sometimes and makes some bonehead moves and doesn't do things, seems like he's tried on a couple of these last two teams a little bit more to buy into playing defense and doing more than just, walking back and forth the middle of the court and making some long shots here and there. And I don't mean any disrespect to him, but, there's times where he was just like, that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going
Right.
to play a lot of defense or really try to impact both ends of the floor. And I get tired of seeing that.
That's just facts. That's not disrespect, dude.
Yeah. Well, I know, they always cry about the bloggers and now the podcasters and what we've got to say about did we ever pick up a basketball and I can understand that too because there's a lot about basketball you don't understand, even just being a big fan of the NBA, unless you get out there and play. Like of course, little kids show you sometimes. My little 9-year-old is watching it, and he's just like, wow, these guys are perfect at everything. And I was just like, yeah, that's why they get the big bucks. Like, you think I'm okay? No. Like, there's no level they go to a completely other level. Even just, dribbling and doing stuff. But
Yeah. The one thing I can say about some of these players is there's a comedian named, I think it's like Steve Hoferson. He's the red hair guy who
yeah, I know
gets heckled, and he always owns people when he gets heckled. That's what he goes viral for that. Well, one of the viral clips is
shouts to him. He's been coming to Tennessee. I've wanted to get to one of his shows.
he's coming to my town too.
Nice.
So there was a clip, and I remember this lady happened to be a Steelers fan, and she was saying something. He was saying something about parents who don't know how to parent their child, and like what in the world is going on. And some lady heckled him and said, "Do you have any kids?" And he said no. And then the whole crowd was like, "Oh, because he has no kids. So what? What? How can he speak on it, right?" And he said, "Okay, hold on. Let me ask you something. Do you know what a bobcat is, ma'am? Not the animal. The to for construction purposes, the bobcat that
Right.
it's a four wheels and does all this." And she's like, "Yeah. Have you ever driven one? Do you know how to move concrete with it?" She said, "No." He said, "Okay, great. If you went outside and saw one stuck in a tree, wouldn't you be able to say, 'Well, that doesn't belong there'?"
Right.
You don't have to, then he said, "Look at your shirt. You're a Steelers fan. Have you ever played football before? You're a female. But I bet you yell at your team all the time when it's 3rd and 5 and they run the ball, right?" And she's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Thank you. Sit down." Might not be a parent, but I know bad parenting when I see it.
Right.
So, all that to say, I might not have played defense in the NBA before, but I know bad defense when I
Right.
see it.
Sure.
So, look, we've been watching basketball long enough, and both of us have coached no matter what level it's been. And come on. We know someone who's interested in playing defense. We have seen LeBron James be super interested in playing defense, and we have seen him just it's 5-on-4 basically. He's not even he's a detriment to his team.
And
So
not even when he's just, laying on the ground pouting about the call he didn't get. Sometimes he's just standing there in the middle, kind of off on waiting, not just
Yeah.
cherry pick, but sometimes I've seen a lot of clips of him ball watching, which, as somebody who still plays a little bit in the gym, I know how hard it is. Like, sometimes, unless you do this every day, you just get to where you're like, okay, some guys I just know they're going to shoot it. There's no chance he's going to pass it to me in the corner. So let me just stay out of the way so I don't make them mad getting in their zone. But I'm just like standing here watching, like, oh, I got to do something, like I'm suddenly in the middle of the game again.
yeah.
I could see.
So yeah, James Harden has never just because I don't
think
play in the
I think
NBA.
the Cavaliers are. I hope they're not expecting too much out of him, because if they're thinking he's going to be the piece that will pair with Donovan Mitchell and make them, complete killers, I don't know if that's going to work. They're going to need more than just the two of them to beat, five really good guys, especially when you get to the playoffs and stuff again, because the East is not always the least anymore. It's getting tougher over there.
Right? Another trade I want to get into, only because I don't know if you know this story. I coached him. So his sophomore year in high school, this player played for the Indy Heat, and actually 3 or 4 players have come to the NBA out of this AAU outfit, out of Fort Wayne, Indy, and in Indiana. And his mom, I think, is still the head coach at Notre Dame, and his sophomore year played for the Indy Heat. I coached at Snyder High School, where Jesse Bates from the Falcons, he went
Okay.
there. And Malik Williams, I think you've heard that name. He's usually like on a two-way contract between, he was on the Raptors and the 905, and then in Miami, going back and forth. So Malik Williams has played in the NBA a little bit. And then Keon Brooks is with the Pelicans, I believe. And I coached against him. But Jaden Ivey, his sophomore year, was on this AAU team,
Wow.
and I was an assistant that kind of helped out, not every game, but we went up to Michigan, and the coach from Purdue, Matt Painter, and the coach at the time, Archie for IU, were both there. Got to talk to him for a little bit, and they were scouting Jaden Ivey, who we know went to Purdue, got
Right.
drafted by the Pistons, and now he's with the Bulls.
Right.
So I saw a clip of him, unfortunately, of just making the world's worst pass ever. But I wish nothing but good luck for him. I hope he does well. Mike Conley,
Yep. Mike Conley
that
closed the
trade,
trade.
Kevin
Yeah.
Herter, the shooter.
Yeah. Jaden Ivey for Kevin Herter, and then
Mm-hmm.
Mike Conley got moved around somehow in the process. I'm, of
Right.
course, a Mike Conley fan. I'm
Of
interested to
course.
see.
Of
Uh,
course.
I was glad. I think the Timberwolves were nice to him. And when I got to see him play, that was fun. I watched them a little bit more because he was there, and I'll probably watch the Bulls a little bit more. The Bulls lost Kobe White though, right? I liked him on
Yep.
the Bulls.
Yep.
Um, no, this is one I think the Bulls are probably winning this one. I like Jaden Ivey. I thought he
And
was
they got
really
Anthony Simmons too,
right,
because they Vucevic went to the Celtics.
right,
So that's another one if we're talking Bulls. Yep,
right.
absolutely.
I think they made some good moves for sure. I like what the Bulls did.
How about the Jazz and Grizzlies? So the Jazz received, man, I know you're not gonna like this one. Jaren Jackson Jr., man, it's such a stud. Jock Landale, Vince Williams Jr., and Fort Wayne's
That's right.
John Conchar. He went
The
to
guy I love.
IPFW.
Told the story. I love him.
John Conchar played right here. Literally, I could walk from where I am in my home studio right now. I could walk 20 minutes. So it's a 2-minute drive, but I could walk 20 minutes
Nice.
and be at IPFW college. That's how close I live. And so
Man,
John Karcher is now with the
JB,
Jazz.
thank you for a whole lot of time with the Grizzlies. He has been one of I don't know how much I know you follow basketball and keep up with kind of what's happening with the Grizzlies, but as long as he's been with us, he's been one of the longest tenured players at this point, next to like maybe Jaren Jackson Jr., that have been with us this long. And he is I think he started at almost every position at one point to fill roles through some of
Yeah.
those years. Um, there's a one of the Grizzlies big time podcasts. They joked about he would be the one if there's ever a nuclear holocaust. You expect Conchar to come stepping out in a Grizzlies jersey and be like, "Hey, what do y'all need? I'm here to help." Because he really is like that kind of glue. He
That
was
guy.
the glue guy I was referring to. If you refer back earlier in the episode, I said a glue guy who got traded. Conchar is that glue guy. And also, I think I've told the story on here before, but he was really cool at the youth basketball camp the Grizzlies did. I think it was 2 years ago. Um,
Hmm.
Sometimes they send out a player to the Nashville camp and they get to meet the kids. And he was really cool. He shot basketball with my son for a little while and a bunch of the kids. He was really cool. Um, I'm sad to see Jaren Jackson go. I did not see this one coming at all. It was a complete shock. They said it was a possibility, and I knew a lot of teams were interested in him. And before I
How
forget,
could you not be? How could
I
you not
did
be
see
interested?
that the Warriors were interested in him, and I'll be honest, I'm glad he didn't go to the Warriors, even though I kind of, on a basketball level, hate the Jazz even more. I feel bad for him that he went to the Jazz, but I'd rather him go be good on the Jazz than help the Warriors be great, because
Yeah.
I don't want to be a complete hater, but like they've crushed our dreams a couple of times, so it's
Oh yeah. No, it's a
I don't
rivalry.
want to.
It's a bit of a
Not
rivalry.
definitely not Jaren Jackson Jr. I think I made a post about it. The NBA script writers did really good. I'm joking, but they had Jaren Jackson Jr.'s first points were over Desmond Bain in a Magic jersey. So it's like, his first Jazz points are over his former Grizzlies teammate. It was like, that's kind of picture perfect on,
Yeah.
the way things shake out in the basketball world. Okay, here's my thoughts. I understand why Memphis did it. They're just clearing some space. I think it was crazy, and don't forget the Jock Landale guy. He went down and put up a big night in Atlanta. They say after he drove 6 hours driving himself to Atlanta, so he definitely showed up with the lunch pail and went to
Yeah.
work that day. He drove himself to work and then and went in and got a career high. So shouts to Jock. He was really good in Memphis too. I didn't know anything about him at the start of this season. I remember seeing like, who's this tall white guy running around? I think Atlanta made some good moves. However, they pulled it to get him down there. As far as the Jazz, I don't know how this experiment's going to work out, because I guess they're hoping, is it Kessler Jr. is their big right now? They've got Marketing, but he's kind of like Jaren Jackson Jr. He likes to play Hawk on the outside, shooting threes and, coming in and back up blocking shots and stuff like that. So I
Yeah.
can see maybe them in and out for each other works, but if you put all three of those bigs on the floor, you've really got, Kessler Jr., I think, gets some rebounds. But just being honest, and I love Jaren Jackson Jr., Ja is probably one of my favorite players in the whole NBA, but Triple J was one of my favorite Grizzlies because he has been Mr. Reliable. He misses games here and there, but he is game in, game out, almost guaranteed. He's going to give you 20 points if he gets a whole game and maybe a few blocks, a couple of rebounds. He's not, he's not Zach Randolph where he was guaranteed to probably get you 20 and 10 rebounds. He'll get you more blocks, though. So there are those trade-offs. I don't know how his game will transfer to the Jazz. Jaren Jackson Jr. has always, the one thing that used to make me so mad when he first came to the Grizzlies was getting into foul trouble early. He'd have 3 fouls by the second quarter, and then you wouldn't see him until the third or fourth if they were being smart. So I know that was something he really probably fought along. So I don't know. I don't know. I didn't know a lot about him, but who is it? Walter Clayton Jr. And Hendricks, I think, are both two people I'm interested to see. Actually,
Taylor Hendricks, yeah.
They apparently, I did see.
You're not excited for Kyle Anderson?
No, I am. Again, he's just
That
kind of
dude,
barely
he's
a
just
replacement for Conchar to me. Like, he's not Conchar. Like, I like Kyle Anderson. And I like what he does. I think
he's just so slow, dude.
I think he, in a weird
And
way,
he's my guy. He went to UCLA. He's my guy. But
he's
like
one of those guys that kind of like Dylan Brooks, we moved on from them too fast for no reason. I think he was a bigger part of when the Grizzlies were really firing on all cylinders. Slow-mo and I think 6th man of the year Tyus Jones when he was on the Grizzlies. He was like both of those guys, whether they were coming off the bench, were solid players. So no, I am excited to get Slow-mo back. I think he kind of barely balances out the I liked Vince Williams Jr. a little bit from the Grizzlies that went over to the Jazz. So I'm interested to see how they use Jaren Jackson Jr. Being a big fan of his. I'm really sad though because he is he's been one of the coolest on interacting with some of the different things going on in Memphis, where he's been open, and I've seen him on a lot of different interviews. that a lot of the other players choose not to do. You know, they're just like, I'm not going to go on this podcast run by our media company, you know, unless they make me. And
Yeah.
Jaren Jackson Jr. has always been a really good team player that he's like, I always kind of think like I would like myself to think I'd like to think I'd be if I got to be an NBA player. Like, you need me to go to the hospital? Yes, let's do that. Like, I'm lucky enough to get to put on this jersey and play for all my fans. I want to go make somebody's day. Yeah, that was a shock to me. This whole trade, I don't know. I'm okay with it. I am glad he didn't end up at Golden State. I'm glad they took their eye off of the prize, and I wouldn't have minded if we had gotten Kuminga in the trade. I've liked Jonathan
Stud.
Kuminga. He seems like a solid player. I don't know what soured the situation there as close, because I hear things, but if without being a homer and really watching all of that stuff, it's kind of hard to keep up with during the middle of the season because I'm trying to kind of follow everybody a little bit more than I used to, since I cover the whole Hoops Idiot Nation, the whole NBA. I'm trying to kind of who's hot at the moment, who's doing stuff,
Right.
you know, what's the big brawl that just popped off or whatever, you know. It's cool.
Right. So a couple days ago, man, that big brawl that happened. Yeah. So okay, let's talk about the Warriors now, because you talk about shock. Porziņģis is beyond out of left field, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
that I just don't, so Kuminga and Buddy Hield, um Kuminga, so here's what I can tell you from being a homer and keeping up with the team. Kuminga did not work out offensively or defensively in Kerr's
Yeah,
system.
sure.
In the NBA, he does, but the Warriors, the way they rotate defensively, guys like Draymond can guard 1 through 5. And Kaminga is one of those guys too. And he wasn't understanding his defensive assignments. And so Kerr didn't feel like he could play him. And then you'd say, well, he could get you 4 offensive rebounds in 5 minutes and 2 3-pointers with an assist or two in a 5 minute span. Okay, he could when they're playing recreation YMCA ball.
Right.
When they're really playing with Steph Curry and really trying to run their motion and run plays, he was lost. He was on an island. And so Kerr
If
was
you're
like,
not in that machine, you're not going to last very long because you throw off that machine pretty quick.
yeah.
A few players you thought might just plug in there that didn't work. Which, yeah, I
And
don't
it
know.
just didn't.
I think the Hawks won this one getting the players that they did, Kuminga, and I don't know how Porzingis is really going to work out there, and I don't know if he's even available right now. I know
Freaking no, just like Steph. Just like Steph's not available right now.
so maybe this is a move for the future.
He's 30. Porzingis is 30. We'll just have to see how it shakes out. I don't love it. I don't know if it's not as bad as AD with being,
Yeah,
call him street clothes, but Porzingis, I don't know. The Celtics got pretty good with him injured and not playing. And then when he came back, yeah, it was good, and he, would get you
I
18
really liked
points and
Porzingis in the beginning when he first showed up. Of course, he was like,
Dallas.
man, beast mode. This is fun. Um,
Yeah. He's tapered
he
off,
came
and
in
so
at about the same time that Jaren Jackson Jr. did, and just body comparisons. I've always kind of compared them together. I don't remember how it shook out, but I think they were in the same draft, and everybody was like, this. They coming from a Grizz fan, we heard the term unicorn with Jaren Jackson Jr. I also heard that term
Porzingis,
compared
yeah.
to Porzingis, which every team he's gone to, I've heard them. Oh, he's kind of that unicorn player. So I've
Golden
kind of
State has called
always
him that too.
watched them bounce up and down and wonder, like, not only when they're healthy, but what they're capable of when they're healthy, but how often are they healthy? Because really, that's the biggest thing in the modern day NBA. is can people make it through a whole season? That like you mentioned as with the Pacers, if even if you make it all the way till the last couple of games, if you are the driving force of it and somebody goes down, you know, it can be very detrimental.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan. I don't know.
I'm looking at my
We'll
notes.
have to wait and see. We will have to wait and see. But like we talked about, you can't really judge the trade deadline a week later. We're just
Right.
going through it and giving what our takes are and what we think is going to happen, but we don't know for
Right. I
sure.
think
I mean,
traditionally everybody kind of always looked at the trade deadline and trades like this is for right now, this season. We're trying to win right now.
are
But
you a buyer or a seller? Yeah.
I think teams are moving more into situations where it's not surprising that they're kind of like, yeah, we're going to get this guy, but we're going to put him on the bench. He's injured right now, but we know he'll be back. Like, we're not worried about that. We got plans for, pairing him in this setup and running it. I don't know. I think the one thing we didn't mention when we were talking about before we move completely on from Jaren Jackson Jr. and all of that was how many picks the Grizzlies have. Will they just start, uh, making it rain and buying and getting all the players in the next couple of drafts? A few of them go out into like the, I almost want to say the, 29s and the 30 draft on some of them, but we've got a lot of picks and the Grizzlies have been pretty smart with flipping some of those picks to go forward in the draft and get who they really want. And some of those players
Yeah.
have panned out really well. So I'm excited for that. That's the only thing I'm kind of gnawing my teeth on since I lost what I really want. Because, like, I'll be honest, I was watching a Grizzlies podcast when they got the news in real time, as I did through them, that Jaren was gone, and they were like, pretty devastated. Did not see it coming. Like, we knew it was a possibility, but it's like, whoa, okay. Then actually, they did kind of see it coming because I think he knew the night before he had one of his best games. He got to do the walk-off interview. But one of the guys that works on the Grizzlies podcast has been with him through his whole tenure with the Grizzlies. He said that night before the Utah trade was the only time he'd ever seen Jaren Jackson break his protocol at the beginning of a game. He always had I do this, then I do that, then I do this. And he just kind of went to a free throw line and, kind of knelt down and just said a prayer. So I'm sure maybe he didn't know, but he knew like, yeah, there's a good chance I'm getting traded too, and this could be
Yeah.
a game here. So I'm glad for him. We got a win at home. He got to go out, in an awesome feeling as a Grizzly because he was everybody that left the Grizzlies. I liked them. I'm sad to see all of them go. So I wish them all well. I hope they go beat up every team except mine when we
Right.
play you again. But no, like I it's always kind of tough. I don't know if how in that business I could be. I guess you would get used to it that, sometimes it just happens, you got to get used to that it people are expendable and tradable. People you think you'll never lose. And I mean, before we move on, what do you think about Ja Morant not getting traded? Do you think just too high of a price tag? The Grizzlies, maybe people lost sight due to other cookies on the shelf,
Yeah.
or
That's more what I think is. I don't think too many teams were guns a blazing for old Ja. I think
right,
they just for the amount of shenanigans that come with a player who has not proven in the way that you are not being a hater on James Harden. I'm not being a hater on Ja, but I don't know that he's a winner.
right,
Like as far as doing the things that are absolutely needed. For example, Steph Curry could have been Finals MVP, meaning he could have taken over when KD was there. But what did he do? He made sure that KD would get 40 if it meant he only got 21.
Right.
And to me, that's a winner. And I don't know. I'm not saying it's not in him, because in the right situation, but John Morant, when you look up the word winner, I feel like there's maybe at least 25 players that you might put ahead of him as not more skilled, not more talented. That's not what I'm saying.
I
Do
will
you know
say
what I
one
mean?
thing. I will say one thing, and not just me being a Grizz fan versus you on a Warriors fan. Remember that series where Ja got injured um, during like game 3 or 4, and
Yeah,
then the Grizz did come back one game and just blew the Warriors out after that. But we lost the
completely.
next two really close.
Yeah,
Add a player like John Morant. I think he is kind of a killer in that time. It might have changed that series. Currently in today's market, that's not the same player. So I do understand what you're saying, because you're also
and I
not
agree with
trading
you there
for you're
in
not
that.
trading for Ja 3 or 4 years ago. You're trading for Ja currently, and what does he
Yeah,
represent? No, I think maybe some people just got. I think you're probably right. They just saw other things on the shelf that that were more glittery right now. Um,
yeah.
I don't know. I'm still kind of sad. Like I'm a big John Morant fan, but I also have come back down to earth. You know, like that.
Yeah,
It reminds me of that John Morant ad, which I really did like, where he was just like flying above the landscape, going higher and higher and higher, and then finally dunked it. And it was just like we've all kind of come back down to earth and realized not just what he's worth as a player, but what he means for the team. I think the Grizzlies kind of underestimated how big he is for the city. Um, and that may be why they didn't just trade him for nothing. Because on a basketball level, I think you could get pretty quick to sometimes if you get soured or you said something wrong, or it's almost like a relationship. Once you've said it, it can't be back in the bottle. And if you say we're going to move on from him, you got to almost do it. But I also think the city of Memphis really rallied behind Ja, and I don't think they I know they know, but do they realize, like, especially if you were going to get rid of Jaren Jackson Jr. and Ja, this is going to be a big blow to a lot of the basketball morale in the people that really support the team, because Ja's, one of those kind of, again, one of those generational talents where even if he's not at that level currently playing, he represents that to the city of Memphis, that like, hey, we got us a superstar. Yeah, yeah, he's on the bench right now, which we hate, but it is, we don't get a Steph Curry very often. You know what I mean? Steph Curry doesn't come here, which I don't blame him specifically. And he's a very few and far kind of level between. But
yeah.
Kevin
He's a
Durant's going to
unicorn.
come to Memphis. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's
Yeah, yeah,
a unicorn. Like,
yeah.
there have been many a years where Kevin Durant was on the trade deadline block, and Memphis was like, "Oh man, if we could just get Kevin Durant," and I'm
Yeah,
like,
and like
"He's
he
never
wasn't
gonna
coming.
come here." No, you could offer him max of, and he'd just be like, "Okay, no, probably not." Which it's kind of sad, but then again, it's not being haters if it's facts. I guess is the
That's what I'm
thought of the
saying.
episode.
Yes, that's the theme, and we'll have to see how it shakes out. The NBA definitely has some decent storylines, and when the playoffs start to take shape and everything, um,
Another one, the
will
Hornets didn't make a whole lot of crazy trades. I didn't notice them in there, and they've been really hot lately. So we'll see how that plays out for them.
yeah, it it's a weird thing to be able to say right at this hard stop. You need to decide, is this your roster, and if
Mhm.
not, if it's not your roster, who makes you better? Does Porzingis make you better? Does the little guy who tries to get steals all the time, does does he get you better? Does like these, and we just won't know. But we'll keep an eye on it and see. Real quick before we get out of here, do you have? I'm putting you on the spot, so you may not. But in college, do you have a dark horse, someone that you're looking at? Because as of 2 days ago, we know that there's no more in that top bunch, no more undefeated. So
Right.
because a couple days ago, Kansas beat Arizona. So
What are
um,
the top four teams right now? Do you know? Like,
Michigan
who are top?
is probably gonna be the top now that Arizona Houston jumped up this week to number 3. So Arizona lost finally,
Hmm.
and then Michigan, Houston, and Iowa State, UConn, Duke, Illinois. Those are kind of like the roundabout
Man,
top.
I hate Houston, but they are a tough team.
Dude,
Um,
they always are.
and
They always
Michigan would
are.
be probably my two picks of I'm gonna see how they really go. I'll be honest, I should be covering more college on the Hoops Idiot page. And speaking of, if anybody's watching this and you're a fan of the Hoops Idiot page, comment or let us know in the comments here if there's some teams you want us to cover more. I will dig in and learn more about some teams if I know we've got people that are interested in them. We just kind of get most of our interactions off of NBA content and covering kind of who's winning at the moment, and then the big market teams is what we found. But we're open to covering
Sure.
more college if we've got some, um, you know, different fans. I say that to say I'm not checking out on the college basketball by any means, but with Memphis having the year that they're having, we're just been pretty terrible. Um, I don't know. College basketball is so different now than it was a couple of years ago, and I know it's not just don't want to get into just complaining about the NIL and that kind of stuff,
Right.
but
It's not going anywhere.
really, I think it's taking a lot of the strength away from some of the big schools because anybody can it's opening up the market that you've got teams like Vanderbilt and different teams that are just they've got money, so they've got able to get players that you wouldn't normally have been able to convince maybe to come to those schools
Yeah.
before the NIL was just straight up out there. It's kind of taken some of the thunder out of the the teams that always had the namesake and guaranteed recognition. But it's also changing the landscape that you don't see a whole lot of these dark horse unknown schools flying in there anymore because anybody that's worth a crap gets picked up for peanuts at some other school or that's the best that a team like Memphis this year could really hope to get. I don't know if it's lack of boosters with it or if it's just it's getting so hard to. I think it's going to change the college sports, especially in basketball. I think in a good way, though, it may force teams to really get back out there and find those hidden talents that aren't showing up at the top of your, All American, McDonald's All American lists and stuff like that. You got to go find those guys that, the big schools haven't already offered a lot of money to. But it's college basketball has been really interesting. The times I watch it, I still enjoy watching games, but I have not been keeping up with anybody. I would say I would give Houston and I think
Michigan, I think.
yeah, Michigan was the other one for sure. Who you said West Virginia finally got beat?
Um, Arizona was the
Arizona
number
finally
one.
got beat.
They
That's
were
right.
undefeated. Yeah, Kansas,
They were undefeated.
Bill Self beat them. So now it's like even everyone has at least one loss, and now you just here you go, roll the ball out, and let's see who
Right.
comes out. Because now it's mid-February and March is coming. So um, later this week, my team UCLA plays Michigan. Now after Michigan has to play Northwestern before that, but um, I
By the
UCLA is
time we
just
get
not
to
that good.
by the time we get to March Madness, I definitely want to come back on and talk about some. I will know a lot more of what I'm thinking about college basketball. To be honest, this is about the point where if I wasn't doing Hoops Idiot Nation and really having to cover the NBA as much as we do, I would start to kind of tune out the NBA a little bit and start paying attention more to college basketball.
Go heavy with,
it gets a little bit heavier right now. And like you said, I was going to say earlier when we were talking about the trade deadline, I like the trade deadline because it kind of forces you to make decisions.
And be interested too.
If it was, if you didn't have a rule like that, you'd have teams, in the last couple of weeks of the season, like, here's 3 players for those 4 players. We're out of it anyway. You go take them, try to go beat this team we hate. Like you'd be a little bit more wondering if the fix is in than we already kind of do sometimes when it comes to professional sports. Like
the script writers,
a little bit of morals or something here.
One thing we do not have on this show, morals. Yes, Sports Idiot Nation. Yeah, like, but we want our teams to. Yeah,
I still want. We're not fully WWE yet. I don't know. I think the NFL's. I don't know though. With the NFL, did they do that this year with the kind of like everything falling apart and teams that would not maybe normally be at the script writers plan? Did they do that just to tell us that it's not all scripted because it doesn't?
Right, they threw us off.
Is. It's crazy, man. Because that's the only one I'd say is kind of just WWE to me. It's getting more storylines. The NBA is trying to sell storylines too, but that's just, trying to save viewer engagement. You know what I mean? That I think that helps outside of just your regular fans when you got teams mad at each other or scandals and stuff.
Right.
But you never know. I don't think they're too desperate yet. The NBA still doesn't like all the fighting, so that usually gets.
We do.
That really bad. We do.
Hockey, man. That's what makes hockey cool.
I don't want to see people finishing games with ripped jerseys and blood, but like every
a little something.
It is what it is. Like, I had to only play one game against this guy at the gym the other day. I almost didn't want to play. Not a big fan of one-on-one unless I know somebody and I'm having fun. He kept calling me for travels that I don't think existed. And I was just like, all right, man, one game. That was fun. I'm done.
Yeah. Like, that's cool, man.
Going because I don't want to argue about this,
Right.
Not that we're going to get to fighting, but it gets annoying if you don't call me and then I score a point and you're like, okay, that was good, but you traveled at the beginning. I'm like, get out of town.
Yeah, like, what are you talking about?
Got to call it then if I did something. You know what I mean?
Right, don't say it after I scored. I hate
at the rec league over here.
Snooze, you lose, bro.
Yeah.
All right, so be sure to follow Hoops Idiot Nation if you don't already. Of course, Sports Idiot Nation is to be followed as well.
You know that too.
Wherever. Yeah, yep. Definitely have the merch.
Mentioning that, we got a couple of hoop shirts, and I got some ideas. Me and T.I. have been batting back and forth. If y'all want some more Hoops Idiot shirts, let us know. If y'all have some ideas, let us know.
Oh, yeah. Okay, awesome. Yeah, but click the link in the description. Takes you to everything to get your shirts and hoodies. And again, follow Hoops Idiot Nation. New episodes of Sports Idiot Nation come to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, which means we will see you Friday. Thank you for watching this episode of Sports Idiot Nation. Remember, we are on all social media and on YouTube, and the podcast can be found on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Remember, new episodes are every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And remember, because you watch Sports Idiot Nation,
you would be the smartest idiot in the whole world.